The rain was relentless. Her ride vanished. And he stepped out of the shadows, the billionaire no one dared cross. She had seconds to decide, run or trust the most dangerous man she'd ever met. An empty street. A cancelled ride. And then he was there, Elias Brandt, the man with a reputation that could ruin anyone. He smiled. She froze. Could she survive letting him in? She thought she was safe calling for a ride. She was wrong. Because the man everyone whispered about was walking straight toward her, and the only question was, would she get into his car alive, or let him inside her life? Hi my beautiful family. I have missed you all. Thank you so for sticking around with me. I truly appreciate your love and support. If you're already hooked in for today's story and ready to enjoy it, click subscribe and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Because, tomorrow, I will be giving you another story just as interesting as this one. And you don't want to miss it. Now let us begin. Naomi Carter hugged her tote bag closer as the rain thickened. The entrance of the old riverfront theater buzzed behind her, but she'd stepped outside to get some air. Her Uber app spun uselessly. No cars nearby. No drivers answering. That's when she noticed the black SUV pulling into the narrow lane. The door opened. And out stepped Elias Brandt. The name hit her chest like a cold wave. She'd heard whispers about him since moving to Savannah. His silence, his money, the deals people claimed he crushed without blinking. Some said he could read a man's lie before the sentence even finished. Others said you avoided crossing him unless you enjoyed regret. He wasn't supposed to be here. He wasn't supposed to be walking straight toward her. Naomi shifted her weight, ready to step back into the theater, but his eyes found hers. Sharp, assessing, then unexpectedly, steady. Not threatening. Just focused. You waiting on a ride? He asked, voice low, rain threading through it. She hesitated. Yes. My driver cancelled. He looked at the empty street, then back at her. Savannah traffic's flooded near the bridge. You won't get one for at least an hour. She didn't know whether to believe him. This was the man people feared, yet here he was, pausing as if giving her space to choose. I can take you, he said simply. If you're comfortable with that. Her heartbeat pressed against her ribs. She wasn't the type to accept rides from strangers, especially wealthy men with reputations sharp enough to cut through rumor. He seemed to read the hesitation in her fingers tightening around her bag. You don't owe me anything, Elias added. I'm headed toward the South District anyway. There was something unexpectedly grounded in the way he said it. No pressure, no assumption. Naomi exhaled slowly. A ride wasn't the issue, trust was. And trust was something she didn't extend easily anymore. Still, standing alone in the rain with no Uber in sight, she finally nodded. Okay, thank you. I'll take the ride. Elias opened the SUV door for her. Not with flourish, but quiet courtesy. As she stepped inside, she wondered why the man everyone feared felt like the only safe option in that moment. Would you have taken the ride, or waited in the rain? Tell me in the comments what your gut would have said. The SUV moved like silence on wheels, the kind only specialized engines could manage. Naomi sat with her hands folded in her lap, trying not to stare at the interior. Soft leather, custom paneling, a subtle scent of cedar instead of that harsh cologne men with money usually drenched themselves in. Elias drove with one hand, the other resting on the console, relaxed but alert. Rain streaked down the windows, turning streetlights into long, trembling lines. You work at the Youth Arts Center, right? He asked. She blinked. How did you? I saw you speak last month, he said. At the fundraiser on Ellis Square. His voice stayed even, almost casual. You were the only one who talked about the kids instead of yourself. Naomi felt her face warm. I didn't realize you were there. I didn't stay long. A faint smirk touched his mouth. Crowds aren't my thing. She could picture that, a man who made decisions from shadows, not spotlights. The SUV glided past the historic district and toward the quieter streets. Naomi noticed the built-in screen on the dashboard flash with a coded message she couldn't read. Elias pressed a small button on the steering wheel, and whatever alert it was disappeared. "Do you always have security updates running?" she asked carefully. He didn't tense, he simply nodded. "Comes with the territory." "What territory is that?" He glanced at her, not evasive, gauging. "Let's say I built a lot of things. And not everyone appreciated how I built them." It wasn't a threat. It was truth, laid out like a stone on a table. They pulled up to a gated neighborhood, one Naomi had never seen up close. The kind with private guards and homes hidden behind arching oaks. "Don't worry," he said, catching her expression. "I'm not taking you to my place. The streets beyond this gate are the only open route right now." The guard recognized Elias instantly. The gate lifted without question. As they drove through, Naomi found herself watching him. Not the wealth, the subtle signs of a life lived under constant watch. The way his eyes flicked to mirrors. The way he considered silence before speaking. Elias Brandt wasn't feared because he was dangerous. He was feared because he couldn't be read. And Naomi realized she wanted to understand him more than she should. Have you ever met someone whose reputation didn't match who they really were? Comment your experience. I'm curious what surprised you most in real life. They'd made it through the gated road when the worst of the storm hit. Sheets of rain hammering the windshield, lightning flaring over the marshlands. Elias slowed the SUV, eyes cutting through the downpour like he'd driven this stretch 1,000 times. "We'll reach your street in a few minutes," he said. But fate had other plans. A tree branch crashed down ahead of them, blocking the narrow road. Elias braked smoothly, but the impact sent a spray of water across the glass. Naomi jumped. "Oh, it's all right." His voice was steady. "Hold on." He put the SUV in park, unbuckled, and stepped into the storm without hesitation. Naomi stared after him, stunned. A millionaire, the same man people whispered about, the one rumored to fire executives without blinking, was now standing in pounding rain trying to drag a branch off the road like it was nothing. She scrambled out of the SUV. "Wait, Elias. You'll get hurt." He shot her a look through the rain. "You shouldn't be out here." "Neither should you," she said, grabbing the smaller end of the branch. For the first time, he looked caught off guard. Not by the rain. By her. Together they pushed. Water soaked through Naomi's braids and down her back, but she kept going. Elias adjusted his stance beside her, matching her rhythm, nodding quietly when she got better leverage. When they finally rolled the branch to the roadside, Naomi bent over, catching her breath. Elias watched her, rain slipping down the sharp angles of his jaw. "You didn't have to help," he said. "And you didn't have to stop," she countered. He huffed, almost a laugh. A real one this time. They climbed back into the SUV, dripping and breathless. The warmth inside the cabin felt too intimate, too charged. A raindrop rolled down Naomi's cheek, and without thinking, Elias reached out. His thumb hovered, then withdrew before touching her. "Sorry," he murmured, voice lower now. "Old habit. I notice things." Her breath caught. "It's fine." The road cleared, they drove again, but something had shifted, something neither of them named. The air carried a pull, subtle but undeniable, like gravity had chosen them both without asking. When they reached Naomi's home, he stopped but didn't unlock the doors immediately. "You made this night less inconvenient than it should have been," he said quietly. "You mean less terrifying?" she teased. His eyes softened. "That too." For the first time, Elias Brandt didn't look feared. He looked human. Would helping someone like that make you trust them more? Or make you even more cautious? Drop your honest answer in the comments. I'd love to know how you'd react. Naomi stepped out of the SUV, rain still clinging to her clothes. Elias waited until she was safely under her porch before driving off. No lingering. No pressure. Just a brief nod as if he wasn't sure if he should say goodbye. She watched the taillights vanish down the street. Inside, she peeled off her wet jacket and set her phone on the counter, only to see a text from an unfamiliar number. "Let me know you made it inside safely. E.B." Her pulse fluttered. He'd signed it with initials, not a name. Like he knew she might still be unsure about him. Naomi typed back a simple, "Inside. Thank you again." She expected nothing more. But the next afternoon, as she stepped out of the Youth Arts Center, she found a quiet surprise waiting. A sleek black SUV parked discreetly on the side street, not his, but clearly from his security team. A woman in a charcoal blazer approached her with a respectful nod. "Ms. Carter? Mr. Brandt asked me to deliver this." A small envelope. Inside, a handwritten note. "No rain tonight. Thought you might enjoy choosing a night that's yours, not the weather's. Elias." Below was a reservation card for the Magnolia Terrace, one of Savannah's most intimate coastal restaurants. The card wasn't filled out. She got to choose the time and day. Naomi's breath softened. This wasn't a demand. It wasn't even a request. It was an invitation. That evening, with steady hands, she texted him, "Tomorrow at 7? His reply was instant. "I'll be there. I'd like to hear more about how you move entire rooms with a single sentence." The compliment wasn't poetic, it was observant. True. The next night, he arrived precisely at 7, walking toward her with a confidence that didn't overpower the space, it reshaped it. He pulled out her chair, waited until she settled, then sat across from her. For the first few minutes, they didn't rush into conversation. Instead, Naomi watched the way Elias's gaze flicked between her and the ocean view, like he was choosing to be fully present. "You didn't have to give me options," she said. "I wanted you to feel in control," he replied. "People rarely let themselves choose what feels good." His openness surprised her. So she offered her own. "I've spent most of my life being the dependable one. Sometimes I forget I'm allowed to want things." Elias leaned forward slightly, elbows resting on the table. "Then tonight, start wanting." The candle flames wavered between them, softening the edges of their guarded lives. They talked until the restaurant dimmed its lights for closing, sharing small truths, childhood memories, old fears, unexpected laughs. Nothing heavy, nothing forced, but everything real. When they stepped outside, a warm breeze lifted her curls. Elias watched her as if memorizing the moment. "Naomi," he said quietly, "I'm glad you chose tonight." "So am I." They didn't touch, but the space between them hummed. Something had begun. "Would you accept an invitation like this if the man made sure you held the choice? Comment yes or no, and tell me why your gut says that." 3 days after their dinner, Naomi found herself replaying tiny pieces of the night. The way Elias listened, the quiet warmth in his voice when he said her name, the subtle shift in his shoulders when she laughed. She'd just locked up the Youth Arts Center for the evening when motion lights blinked on across the parking lot. A figure stood there, not intimidating, but unmistakably familiar. Elias. He stayed a few steps back, hands in his pockets, raincoat opened slightly at the collar. His expression wasn't the cold mystique Savannah whispered about. It was something softer. "I hoped I wasn't interrupting," he said. "You're not," she replied, surprised by how true it felt. He walked with her down the quiet sidewalk, the air thick with the scent of magnolias. No SUV, no entourage, just him. "I wanted to see how your week's been," he said. It wasn't small talk. It was genuine curiosity, offered without obligation. She told him about a student who'd painted his first full mural. Elias listened the way someone listens to music, absorbing every detail. At the corner, Naomi stopped. "You didn't come all the way out here for a conversation. What's really going on?" He exhaled, a rare hint of vulnerability cutting through his usual precision. "I wanted to see you again. I didn't want to wait for you to pick another date." Her chest pulled tight, in the best way. "I didn't want to wait either," she admitted. That stopped him cold. A faint, almost disbelieving smile touched his lips. Lightning flickered far off over the marsh, painting the sky a soft silver. The moment stretched. Elias took one step closer, giving her time to pull back. She didn't. His hand lifted, slow and deliberate, brushing a curl from her cheek. "Tell me to stop," he whispered. Naomi's voice was barely breath. "I'm not going to." He leaned in. The kiss wasn't rushed or hungry. It was steady, certain. The kind of kiss that said he'd been waiting for it far longer than he'd admit. Naomi felt his hand slide gently to the side of her waist, grounding her without pulling her. When they pulled apart, her pulse echoed in her ears. Elias rested his forehead against hers for a beat, breathing her in. "I haven't wanted something this badly in a long time," he murmured. Naomi swallowed. "Then don't overthink it." He laughed under his breath. Not sharp, not restrained. Real. They walked the rest of the way together, fingers brushing, every step tightening a thread. Neither wanted to cut. "Do you think a man holding back until you lean in makes the first kiss more powerful? Comment, stronger, or too slow. I want to know which side you're on." Their evenings together became a quiet rhythm, walks near the marsh, late-night conversations, stolen kisses that warmed Naomi long after they parted. She liked the way Elias softened around her, the way he listened, the way he remembered everything she said. But just when things were settling, the complication found her first. It happened on a calm Thursday evening. Naomi had finished teaching an art class when she realized her phone had buzzed 3 times. Unknown number. Then a fourth message came in. Another unknown number. Another short line. "Stop seeing him. You don't know who he really is." Naomi froze. She read the messages again, pulse pounding. No threats, but the urgency was unmistakable. She called back. The number was disconnected. Elias arrived minutes later, earlier than usual, walking with the same silent confidence. But Naomi couldn't shake the unease. She tucked her phone into her pocket, forcing a small smile. "You okay?" he asked immediately. "Long day," she lied. He studied her face, not pushing, not prying, just watching the way she avoided his eyes a beat too long. "Let me drive you home," he said gently. As they pulled out of the lot, traffic thickened near the historic district. A cluster of photographers stood near the corner, whispering when the SUV rolled by. Elias's grip on the wheel tightened. Naomi glanced over. "Why are they looking at you like that?" He didn't answer at first. "Some people think I should have handled my company differently," he finally said. "When I bought out my partners, rumors spread. They didn't like being outmaneuvered, so they spun their own story." "What story?" "That I'm ruthless, dangerous, unpredictable." Naomi felt a chill. The texts, the whispers, the way security was always one step behind him. "Is any of it true?" she asked softly. Elias didn't flinch. "I don't hurt people, Naomi." His voice dropped, controlled, quiet. "But I don't let people hurt me either. And some men don't take kindly to losing." She wanted to trust him. She did trust him, but the tension in his jaw told her there was more. "Who sent those messages?" she finally asked. His eyes snapped toward her. "What messages?" Naomi swallowed. "Someone texted me. About you." Elias pulled over immediately, putting the SUV in park, turning fully toward her. "What did they say?" His tone wasn't anger. It was fear, the kind that comes from protecting something fragile. Her. Naomi held his gaze. "They told me to stop seeing you." The world went still inside the SUV. Elias exhaled slowly, like a truth he hadn't wanted to face had finally arrived. "This is only the beginning," he murmured. "Would anonymous warnings make you walk away, or make you demand answers? Comment, walk away, or I'd ask questions. Which one feels more like you?" Elias didn't drive off right away. He stayed parked beneath an old oak, branches shaking in the evening breeze, his jaw tight enough to crack. "Naomi," he said, voice low, You need to tell me exactly what those messages said. She repeated the lines slowly. He didn't interrupt. He didn't breathe. When she finished, Elias pressed his fingertips to his forehead. They've never gone after someone close to me before. Someone close to you, she echoed. That's when he looked up, really looked at her, with an expression that sent a pulse through her chest. A mixture of fear, frustration, and something dangerously close to emotion. I should have known the moment I introduced myself, he muttered. My past doesn't stay quiet. It never has. Naomi tightened her grip on her seatbelt. You keep talking like you've done something unforgivable. He met her eyes. I built a billion-dollar logistics empire by buying out 3 partners who tried to push me out of the company I founded. I won the war, but they didn't walk away peacefully. So these messages are from people who want me to fail. He paused. Or want me to be alone. Naomi felt her breath hitch. Why alone? Because anyone close to me becomes leverage. The weight of that sentence settled between them. Suddenly the security cars. The tightly controlled routes. The guarded look in his eyes whenever someone unfamiliar got too close. It all made sense. Naomi's pulse raced, but it wasn't fear, not of him, anyway. It was fear of the world circling him like vultures. Elias, she said gently, you could have told me. I was trying to protect you, he said quietly. Not push you away. But you didn't give me the chance to decide what I can handle. His breath caught, a hit he hadn't expected. Before either of them could say more, his phone blared with a sharp alert. He grabbed it quickly, eyes scanning the screen. His entire body went rigid. What is it? Naomi whispered. He looked at her, jaw clenched. Someone tried to access the security feed outside your house. Her stomach dropped. My house. Yes. His voice hardened, low and dangerous. You're not going back there tonight. Naomi's heartbeat thundered. Elias, wait. You're staying somewhere safe, he said, reaching for the gear shift. With me, or with my team. But you're not spending another night unprotected. Naomi stared at him, the man Savannah feared, the man people warned her about, now panicked at the thought of her being in danger. Elias, she whispered, just tell me where we're going. He met her gaze, eyes filled with a storm he couldn't hide. Somewhere they can't reach you. If someone you were falling for wanted to protect you like this, would you go? Or would you fight for independence? Comment, go, or stand my ground. I'm curious which one feels right to you. The safe house wasn't a fortress. It was a taste of another life. Quiet halls, warm lighting, subtle luxury, and no trace of the outside world. Elias showed her to a guest suite, unpacking only essentials for her comfort. His hands moved deliberately, controlled, almost like every gesture was rehearsed. Naomi sank onto the edge of the bed, finally letting the tension of the evening drain out. The air between them hummed with unspoken questions. Naomi, Elias said, stopping near the doorway. I need to tell you everything. You deserve the truth. Her chest tightened. I thought I already knew why I shouldn't trust you. He shook his head, stepping closer. No. You only know the rumors. The half-truths. What I didn't tell you is, the people who want me alone, they've been trying for years. They're dangerous, corporate rivals, vindictive former partners. And now, because of you, they've noticed a vulnerability. Naomi's stomach flipped. Because I'm close to you? He nodded, running a hand through his hair. Yes. And I can't protect you without asking you to trust me fully. Her hands clenched in her lap. You mean, put my life in your hands? Exactly. His eyes searched hers, sharp, unwavering. I won't lie to you. If you stay with me, it's a risk. But if you walk away, I can't stop them from making it worse. Naomi's mind whirled. Every lesson about self-reliance screamed at her. Every instinct warned her to step back. But another, quieter voice, one she hadn't heard in years, whispered, "You've chosen to trust before. Maybe it's time again." She faltered, tears brimming. "I don't know if I can do this." Elias crossed the room slowly, closing the distance between them. "You don't have to decide right now. I just needed you to hear the truth. I won't sugarcoat it." Naomi inhaled, feeling the raw weight of honesty in the room. This wasn't flirtation. This wasn't charm. This was real, dangerous, life-altering truth. Her hands trembled slightly as she reached out. "Then, show me why you're worth the risk." His jaw softened, and for the first time, he allowed himself a small, unguarded smile. "That's all I ask." The room settled into a fragile quiet. Outside, Savannah slept, unaware of the storm that had passed through one quiet street. And inside, Naomi felt the first real crack in her resolve. Because trust, she realized, was a choice, not an accident. Would knowing the full risk make you walk away, or lean in closer? Comment, walk away, or lean in. I want to hear your gut reaction. The next morning felt deceptively peaceful. Sunlight poured through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the safe house kitchen, turning the marble counters gold. Naomi sat on a barstool, sipping coffee Elias had placed in front of her like a quiet offering. For a few minutes, it felt normal. Almost intimate. Then Elias's phone buzzed. He looked at the screen, and every muscle in his body froze. Naomi noticed instantly. "What is it?" He didn't answer. He tapped the screen, opening a message, and his face drained of color. "Elias," she pressed, standing. "What happened?" Slowly, he turned the phone toward her. A single photo filled the display. Her apartment door. Splintered. Wide open. Naomi's heart stopped. My home. "They broke in," Elias said, voice low. "Controlled. Too controlled. They were searching for something." "No," she whispered, shaking her head. "No, no, no. Why would they go there?" He swallowed. "Because they think you're more important to me than you are." The words landed like a blade. Naomi blinked, stunned. "More important than I am." "Elias, what does that even mean?" He set the phone down carefully, the way someone handles explosive material. "It means they think I care deeply about you. Enough that hurting you would hurt me. But they're wrong. They're assuming too much." A cold, hollow ache spread through her chest. Something inside her cracked. "So, you don't care about me?" "Not really." Her voice was barely audible. He hesitated. A single moment. A single heartbeat. A single silence too long. Naomi stepped back as if burned. "Oh my God. I trusted you last night. I opened up to you. And you're saying I'm just a strategy." "Naomi, that's not." "Don't lie now," she snapped, tears blurring her vision. "Just tell me the truth. Am I a liability? A shield? A weakness?" His jaw clenched. His eyes softened, but not enough. "You're someone I need to protect. Nothing more." It was the most painful, calculated answer he could have given. Naomi ripped her gaze away, breath shaking. "I need air. I need space." She headed for the front door. Elias moved instantly. "Naomi, wait. Don't." She didn't look back. "For once, let me be the one who walks away first." And she left the safe house, slamming the heavy steel door behind her. Outside, the air was cool, sharp, honest. But she wasn't alone. A black SUV across the road flicked its headlights twice, like a signal. Naomi froze. And that was the exact moment she realized she'd walked straight into someone else's plan. Naomi tried to put distance between herself and Elias. Distance between herself and the life she hadn't even realized she was building with him. But Savannah has a way of closing spaces, small streets folding her world back into familiar corners. And Elias Brandt didn't do half measures. By mid-afternoon, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Meet me at the waterfront pier. Now. E.B. Her pulse quickened. She knew this was no ordinary invite. Her instinct screamed caution, but curiosity, and something she hadn't admitted, overruled fear. When she arrived, the pier was empty except for the sound of water lapping against the boards. And him. Elias stood at the edge, the wind tugging at his coat, eyes scanning the horizon as if the river itself whispered secrets to him. Naomi, he called softly. She stopped, a few feet away. I don't know if I should trust you right now. I don't expect you to, he said, walking closer. Each step measured, deliberate. But I need you to see something. He held out a small, sleek envelope. Inside, a set of keys. And a note. These open my private coastal property. It's safe. No one can reach you there. I'll be waiting. E.B. Her hands shook as she lifted the keys. Elias took a step closer, lowering his voice. I don't care about rumors. I don't care about danger if it means keeping you safe. But I can't do it alone. I want you, completely, on your terms. But I need you to trust me now. The raw vulnerability in his gaze, the one person everyone feared showing, shattered something inside her. Naomi felt the tension in her chest loosen. You're serious, she said, whispering. I've never been more serious about anything in my life. His hand hovered near hers, not pressing, just offering the option. Come with me. Let me prove it to you. She stared at him, at the water, at the endless possibility he offered. And for the first time since the storm started, she made a choice. I'm coming, she said. Elias's lips curved into a rare, quiet smile. Not the feared millionaire, but the man who had shown her patience, vulnerability, and relentless honesty. The wind carried the scent of salt water and promise. Naomi stepped forward, and together, they walked toward the waiting SUV. It was no longer about fear. It was about trust. About love. About risking everything for someone worth it. Would you take a leap of faith for someone who scared you, but also captivated you completely? Comment yes if you'd go, or no if you'd wait, and explain why. The coastal property rose from the edge of the cliffs like a quiet promise. Salt air whipped around them, but Naomi barely noticed. Elias opened the SUV door for her, a gesture both familiar and new in its intimacy. This is incredible, she breathed, stepping onto the wooden deck overlooking the waves. He watched her quietly, as if every small reaction was a precious revelation. I wanted it to feel like a place where nothing else matters. Where we can just be. She turned to him, noticing the subtle tension in his shoulders had softened. For the first time, Naomi didn't see the man Savannah feared. She saw the man who had spent days protecting her, listening to her, fighting to earn her trust. Elias, she said softly, you didn't have to do all this for me. I did, he replied simply. Because I want you here. Because I don't want to imagine life without you. Her chest tightened. She took a tentative step closer. And I've realized I don't want to either. The breeze caught her curls as she reached for his hand. Elias responded immediately, entwining fingers like a lock finally finding its key. They walked together to the terrace, where lanterns flickered against the twilight. The sound of waves filled the silence between them, but neither rushed. There was no fear, no hesitation, only presence. Finally, Elias turned, cupping her face gently. Naomi, I've been careful with everything in my life. My business, my reputation, my heart. But with you, I don't want to be careful anymore. I want to be honest. Fully, completely, with you. Tears pricked at her eyes. I trust you. I finally do. He smiled, that rare, soft smile reserved just for her. Then let's make this official. I don't want anyone else to ever feel like they have to come between us. Not fear. Not rumors. Not distance. He reached into his coat and produced a small box. Naomi gasped as he opened it, revealing a delicate, shimmering ring. "Naomi Carter," he said, voice steady, eyes unwavering. "Will you marry me?" For a heartbeat, the world seemed suspended. Then Naomi laughed, a mix of relief, joy, and disbelief. She nodded, words failing her. "Yes," she whispered. Elias slipped the ring onto her finger, and they embraced, letting the ocean wind sweep away the last traces of doubt. In that moment, everything aligned: trust, love, and a future they both chose. Have you ever known someone was the one even before the proposal? Comment, "Yes, I have," or "Not yet," and share your story of love or hope. The coastal property shimmered in the early morning light. The ocean stretched endlessly, waves catching gold from the rising sun. Naomi stood beside Elias on the terrace, the ring still warm on her finger, the scent of salt and cedar mingling in the air. "It feels surreal," she murmured. "Like a dream I didn't know I wanted." Elias smiled, eyes never leaving hers. "It's real. And it's ours." Over the next few weeks, they settled into a rhythm that felt permanent. Naomi continued her work with the Youth Arts Center, while Elias allowed himself to slow down, stepping out of his guarded world just enough to let hers in. One spring evening, Elias suggested a walk along the cliffs. Lanterns lined the winding path he'd prepared, casting soft light over the flowering shrubs. The air smelled of salt and magnolias, the perfect combination of serenity and anticipation. "Naomi," he said, stopping beneath an arch of wildflowers. "I know I haven't always been easy to trust. I haven't always made it simple. But you've changed everything. You've made me want a life I never thought I deserved." Tears welled in her eyes. "And you've made me feel safe and seen in ways I didn't know were possible." He dropped to one knee, holding a new, sparkling ring, simple yet elegant, the kind that whispered permanence rather than showiness. "I want to spend every day proving to you that love can be patient, steadfast, and fearless. Naomi Carter, will you marry me?" She didn't hesitate. She laughed through her tears, nodding. "Yes. Yes, Elias." He stood, slipping the ring onto her finger. They embraced, the wind carrying them like a tide of relief and joy. Weeks later, friends and family gathered at a small chapel overlooking the water. Naomi's mother, smiling warmly, held her hand as she walked down the aisle. Elias waited, every bit the man who had once been feared, now softened by love, yet still commanding in presence. "I promise to protect you, honor you, and love you," he whispered during the vows. "And I promise to trust you, support you, and choose you every day," Naomi replied. As they kissed, the waves clapped against the shore like applause, the sun breaking fully over the horizon. They had survived fear, risk, and uncertainty, and emerged with something stronger, deeper, and unbreakable. In Savannah, whispers would continue about Elias Brandt, but now, anyone who truly knew him would see a different story. One of love, courage, and the undeniable proof that even the most feared hearts can learn to trust. Do you believe love can transform even the most guarded hearts? Comment yes if you believe in love like this, or no if you think some hearts are too guarded. Share why.
Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, you will surely love the next one. It's as crazier and more intriguing as you can ever imagine. So do check it out. Click on the image showing on your screen right now to watch the next one.